This is the Horse Radio Network. Well, hello, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us tonight for the Stable Scoop Roundtable. I'm just giving a second or two for people to pop in here on the live feed. And we're so happy to have you here tonight. Post in the comments your name and where you're from. We would love to know where you're from. And also, you can comment all night long in the comments, and our panelists will be able to see your comments tonight. We can answer any questions. Or if you want to, just pitch into the conversation, you can do that as well. This is episode 523 of the Stable Scoop Show on the Horse Radio Network. It is the Equestrian Roundtable Show in coordination with American Horse Publications. Our sponsor of this episode is Purina Equine Senior. I am Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world. We have a lot of fun topics for you tonight and a lot of really good panelists, and I'm very excited about that. But I wanted to let everybody know that we do have a brand new partnership that we're announcing tonight, and I'm very excited about this. Let me get this banner up there for you. We now have a media partnership with American Horse Publications. American Horse Publications is the Association of Equine Journalists, and HRN has been a proud member for many, many years. We have had many AHP members on the show, and they were such terrific guests that I went to Chris over there at AHP, and I said, why don't we work together on this? You guys are great guests. They're all journalists. They know the topics in the horse world. So why don't we have a couple of your members, AHP members, on the Stable Scoop Roundtable every 2 weeks, and we'll also have one listener, one of our listeners over on the Horse Radio Network. And she thought that was a great idea, so we've started this media partnership with AHP, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we have 2 AHP members tonight that are going to join us, and we also have one of our terrific listeners is going to be on here as well. So let's introduce our panelists. First, I am your host and moderator, so I will be, I have opinions, as most of you know that listen to our shows, but I try and keep them to myself as much as possible and let the panelists do the talking. Again, if you are watching live, welcome. Please post your name and where you're from, and feel free to comment. We have Central Iowa. Oh, that must be a relative of Allie's out there in the West. And then we also have Donna from Connecticut, and we would love to know where you're from, so post in the comments. Let's meet our panelists for tonight on the show. We have AHP member, founder and CEO of Yellow Barn Media, Jamie Samples. Hi, Jamie.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
And it's appropriate that you have yellow behind you. That's appropriate.
Yes.
I just noticed that, actually. Good job. Good job. Jamie, we've known each other for a long time. I don't think we've ever met. Have we met in person?
It's really funny. I don't think we actually have, because I've been to a bunch of AHP seminars, but I don't know that we've ever hugged or elbow bumped or anything. And I've been on the show, but that was probably I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago or something. It's been a while. So I don't know.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It wasn't intentional.
I was probably talking to too many people just all over the place and never made it over to that side of the room. I don't know.
Well, it's good to have you on here tonight. Really appreciate it. How long have you been an AHP member as well?
I want to say roughly 10 years, I think.
Wow, okay.
9 or 10 years. So it's been a while. And I remember my very first event and how impactful it was and how wonderful AHP has been for me. So it's been wonderful through the years, and getting to meet the people and the industry and the organization as a whole is just fantastic.
Great. Terrific. Well, we're going to go to our listener/auditor next. Auditors are like our super fans. They have their own little room, and there's about 500 of them for the Horse Radio Network. And her name is Allie. Hi, Allie.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Utah.
Utah. So what do you do out there in Utah?
I work at a large animal hospital. Or actually, we just transitioned to being only equines in Saratoga Springs, Utah.
And what do you do there?
During the summer, I work with managing the reproduction center. And then while the repro season is over, I do receptionist, billing, tech stuff. They just kind of throw me somewhere and I stay there.
That's usually what happens at an equine center, from what I hear. So thank you for joining us. How long have you been listening to shows on HRN?
About 2 years.
Okay, cool. And I know you listened to this next person's show because I'm going to introduce another one of our panelists who I got to spend an entire weekend with. We may or may not have had an alcoholic beverage or two while we were together in Texas. And that's Mandee from the Lead Line podcast. Hi, Mandee.
Hey, Glenn.
we had a good time. It was just like Jamie. I had known you for 10 or 12 years and never met you.
Yeah, I can't believe we went that long without meeting. It's crazy.
And you're an AHP member, but you're fairly new, aren't you? Well, no, new and old.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a two-part answer. This is officially my first year of being an AHP member, but I actually attended the conference in 2011 because they had invited me to come in as a speaker. But I never actually joined because I kind of left the horse world briefly thereafter for a period of time. So I never ended up joining, but I attended. And then this year I finally came back and I decided to become a member.
Well, good. I'm glad you did because it was a lot of fun. We had a good time in Texas. Of course, Mandee, the Lead Line podcast is part of the Horse Radio Network, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show as well. But first, I have to do this. Well, wait a minute. Let me get this up because it's very important.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Mandee.
Thank you. I really should have come with some props, but I was not prepared for today. So I should have come with like a birthday hat or balloons or something, and that would have been fun. But
I looked for one of those things you blow on New Year's Eve, but I couldn't find it. So that's the best I could do was the sound effect. So
I'll take it.
All right, let's hear from our title sponsor for this episode, and then we're going to get right into our first question. I believe it's going to be Mandee's. Do you have an older horse that's trying to age gracefully? Trust the future with your old friend to the #1 equine vet recommended senior feed. Purina Equine Senior and Senior Active Horse Feeds are backed by unparalleled research to support the unique needs of horses as they age. Both patented feeds include active age prebiotic technology to support immune function, mobility, and appropriate metabolic response in aging horses. Plus, now with the Outlast supplement built in, they also support your horse's gastric health and comfort. Purina Animal Nutrition. They're years ahead in senior research, so you can have more good years with your horse. Put their research to the test at horseinnovation.com. That's horseinnovation.com. And we thank Purina for sponsoring this episode. So what we do here is each of the panelists comes up with their own questions. So the questions can be, completely different from each other. There's no themes to these episodes because I like it that way. I don't get bored that way. So we're talking about something else. We'll talk for about 10 or 12 minutes about each one, and then we move on. So each of you came up with your questions. Mandee, we're starting with what you wanted to discuss tonight.
Yes. So I wanted to chat about the frustrating situation of everything being on backorder lately. And this is a kind of a fresh little pain point for me because I had to order a saddle this year. It turned out the previous saddle that I had purchased did not fit my horse. So I did some shopping. I knew what I was looking for, and I went to my local tack shop and ordered it. So that was back in May, and the saddle just showed up. I will say it came in a little bit early, but it just came in like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, but it was originally not scheduled to come in until November. And so just like that was one example, but I know from talking with a lot of people lately that is a pretty commonplace scenario across the board in multiple industries, really.
Can I just say that we're going to qualify the rest of this conversation by saying this is an equestrian first world problem that we're talking about here. I mean, let's be honest, but we have to bring that up. So what I did, Mandee, is I went into the equine retailers Facebook page. They have a Facebook page that I'm a member of. And I asked them, what are we going to be looking at shortages of? So, everybody out there that's listening right now is thinking about buying something over the next 6 months, maybe before Christmas, maybe for the winter or whatever. And this is the answer I got This kind of rounds up or rounds out some of the answers. This is from a retailer. Most of the footwear coming in now was ordered 8 months to a year ago. And I know that Ariat was running really behind on their footwear orders. Clothing is impossible. And most of our fall and winter apparel is running 3 weeks to 6 weeks late, some more. It'll be here in the spring. Tack is not as bad. You can find alternative items and keep stock. Blankets will be bad if you didn't plan ahead. So that means if the retailer didn't plan ahead. I also think, my personal opinion, that if you want a blanket, I would go out and buy it soon. I wouldn't wait till January to buy a blanket, because normally I used to work in retail, so I know how this works. We would plan for enough blankets to get us into January, and then we would plan on reordering in January. Well, if a retailer did the same kind of plan this year, they're going to be out. They're going to be out by January, and there won't be a reorder. So if you're planning on buying a blanket, I would go out and do it now. You know, I think it's going to be interesting come Christmas time, too, with what's available and what's not. And I think that's across the board, not just the horse world. Allie, what about you? Are you seeing shortages in the vet side?
Yeah, definitely. We have actually a whiteboard that is now dedicated in our pharmacy to everything we don't have. So it's everything from like needles and syringes. We only can give out so much at a time. We had Bute, just like Bute pills, were on back order for like 4 months. We finally just got some. I think we're planning a back order for euthanasia for the foreseeable future. I don't think we even know when that's going to come back in. Penicillin and like
that's a
other
tough
stuff
one
like
to
that.
run out
It's
of,
crazy.
by the way.
It's you have to start making your own, which is kind of crazy. So it's not the best.
Wow. So what do you do when you run out of needles? That's another tough one.
You order people needles, actually. We have like these, we normally have metal like cased needles, I guess. And right now we're using plastic right now because the metal is just so hard to find, and they're on back order. So we have to have so many on stock or in stock at the clinic at a time. So I think we just have a bunch of plastic ones that no one likes to use.
And if you're watching live, make a comment. Is there something that you've tried to get recently that was on back order? Jamie, have you had any issues with?
Not personally, but a lot of my clients, most of my clients are retail. So yeah, they're all seeing shortages. I typically go every year. It's super fun. I go with one of my clients to, and why did it just go out of my mind? I go to, yes, Lisa? Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, I go to Dallas, and it's wonderful, and I get to shop with them, which is great. So we know like what's coming in, when it's coming in. But obviously this year it's been a challenge. The only thing positive that I can say about it for the particular store that I'm talking about is we have literally taken the last like 6 months to kind of train our customers to let them know, like if we get 6 of these shirts, or if we get a full run of these jeans or these boots, if they're in the store and you want them, you really need to come get them that day. They're selling out within the week. So they have actually, through all of this, almost doubled their weekly income. But the only bad thing, well, there's a lot of bad things, but we are not able to plan ahead like we normally would do with social media. Like we have these items coming in, this month, so we'll plan ahead with scheduling. Now it's like when they get a box, they send me pictures and they're like, do your thing. And those things, whatever they are gone like within the week. So personally, I don't need a lot right now. I haven't been ordering a lot, but the retailers that I work with, I know they're struggling, and we're just trying to get really creative with the things we do have and utilize social media and do creative things to keep people engaged and still excited to do business with that retailer.
What are they thinking about Christmas? Is it going to be a tough one?
I think the one particular one that I'm talking about locally here to me, I think they're going to be okay. They have also started working with some smaller wholesalers that already have X amount of items, where they're going and just getting small batches of things from a lot smaller of a company. And obviously everyone, Allie, you're right. I think everyone is feeling it somewhere. So I think with Christmas, they're really not sure. They're just kind of like, let's just see what we get, in November. And then we'll know how much, right now they're telling me, they're like, we're going to do our regular marketing strategy, our regular sales, but they're not doing anything over and above because they're not having any trouble selling anything, which is a good thing. But, They don't know what they're going to get exactly.
You got to wonder what the big box stores are going to do for Black Friday, because I am hearing the same thing from the tech side, that tech, chip shortage has caused a lot of the tech items to be back ordered too, or completely sold out. And they're saying, if you're going to get a tech item for somebody for Christmas, you better buy it now or you're not going to get it. So, I mean, are they going to
charger for like 2 years?
So it's tough. I mean, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if there's going to be the big sales or not. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting Christmas, probably one of the most interesting ones we've seen in a long time. And having been in retail, even in the horse side, retail at Christmas is it saves you or not. I mean, it's still something we all looked forward to on the retail side.
The
Mandee,
other trend I've noticed, Glenn, is that this is both, again, in the equine industry and also in others, but some of these retailers are posting things online as if they're available, and they're still, taking leads, and you can check out and purchase things. Like, I looked for the same exact saddle that I purchased locally through an online retailer that I had previously ordered from. And I could go through the entire checkout process and customize the saddle exactly as I wanted it and go through the checkout. But then when I called, they were like, oh yeah, that's on back order until like sometime next year. So it's being listed and you think it's available because it doesn't say it's out of stock. And it's been interesting. It's kind of a deceptive way of marketing, but I've seen that also. I heard that that's happening quite a bit, even with like car dealerships where they're listing things as if they're available, but you can't get them for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, I noticed that too. There's a new model of a car or pickup truck that I might have been looking at, and they're all listing it as there, but there's none there. They're
Exactly.
on order, but they're kind of, it is kind of a little bit deceptive that way. And we're not the only industry seeing this. Obviously, cars and electronics, and you can't buy an RV right now. They're on order for 2 years. So now this is all going to change. This doesn't last forever. It never does. Everything's cyclical. So we're going to see this change over a period of time. And then then stores will be wishing that they had this problem again. So, everything's a cycle. All right, let's go to our second question. And Allie, you had this one. Tell us about your question.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to talk about kind of giving some advice to young equestrians coming into adulthood and where they can kind of look for future professions, I guess. A lot of the people that I've been around, whether it's just like as amateurs or at barns or whatever, they're just, all they know is they want to graduate high school and just want to work with horses, and they don't know where to go with that, especially when they're growing up as like a competitive teen, graduating from junior rider status, and they just don't know, like, is my only options rider, trainer, or barn manager, or do I actually just get like a normal human job and then use that to support my horse, or like what else is there even out there for me to do? And there's definitely a lot more now than there was when I was a kid. And having that same questions, it was like, well, that's really all you can do is rider, trainer, or barn manager. But I just wanted to kind of talk about what you guys think about options for graduating young riders.
Sounds like this is something growing up that you were thinking about, obviously.
Yes, definitely.
Now, you kind of are working with horses, right? Every day.
Yeah.
Did you think that this was a path you were going to take, or this is where you ended up?
Yeah, definitely. I started my first year of college as a music major, but then I realized I wanted to go back to horses, so I started my equine degree and everything. I only started working here at the vet clinic this year, and so that's been like finally an actual paying horse job exists. But before that, I've been like a barn manager and just kind of stable hand for probably since I was 14. And you can't really support yourself on that. And I'm sure a lot of trainers and like professional riders agree that's really hard to get into. So it's hard to figure out how to support yourself and still have horse job that you want.
Guys, anybody?
Well, I'll hop in and say that growing up, I wanted to be a jockey. Everyone was like, you're so little, you should be a jockey. I don't know why. That was like something I thought I should do. I rode my whole life, clearly not a jockey. The one thing that I've learned about, and I think this goes for really any industry, whether it's equine or anything else, I feel like when you're a young a young person, you're just like, I just want to do like this one thing. Like you were saying, Allie, like maybe it's just a horse trainer, or, I can give lessons, or like, it's really, you have a really small vision of what you can do. I think the better thing, like the better question is, what do I innately love to do? What am I good at? What are my skills? And then how can I apply that in the horse world? Because the horse world, we have tech. We have, obviously vet. The other thing is a lot of people will say, well, I want to work with horses, so I'll be a vet. I think a lot of people just forget that our whole industry is massive. I mean, do you want to be a podcaster, right? Do you want to be a social media manager, a content creator? Like there's all of these things. So I think it really boils down to, yes, of course, if you want to actually work hands-on with horses, there's massage therapists. I mean, the list is massive when you really start looking at the industry. So I think the important question is just, what are you awesome at? What are you really good at? Whether you want to go to college for that or you want to do hands-on, and how can you do that in the horse industry? So I think some people accidentally years later, like myself, fall into working in the horse industry. I had a really human job for just a regular person job for years. And even when I started my agency, I started working with everyone. And then I talked to a business coach and he was like, what do you love? Like really love and know a lot about? And I said, well, horse industry or the dog industry. He's like, okay, well, do your homework and figure out where you want to niche down. And I did. So I think there's so much to offer in the industry. It's just a matter of looking and figuring out what that person wants to do.
You'd be making more money if you'd went to the dogs, right? You realize that.
Possibly, yes. I don't know. I mean,
there's just a lot more of them. Mandee?
Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Jamie just said. And that was a thought that I had too, is, it's not just, being a stable hand or a barn manager. It's what other skill sets do you have that you can bring to the table? And how does that interact with the horse industry? What kind of roles can you go into from there? And like my story, I started out really young. You know this, Glenn. I started doing stuff when I was really young.
She was
and
like
everyone
6.
More like 17, but but everyone was coming to me when I was graduating high school and they said, well, where are you going to go to college? What do you want to do? Well, first and foremost, that is a really overwhelming question to someone that's like fresh out of high school. And a lot of times we don't know 100% what career path we want to take. Some people are very decisive about that at a young age. But for me, I was witnessing a lot of friends going to college that were a few years ahead of me, and they were getting out of school and then not using that degree at all. And to me, I was like, I don't want to waste money until I know what I want to do. So I waited, ended up going into the events industry for a while. And now I've kind of come back to the horse world, but I've been able to combine those two skill sets, both the equestrian side and the business marketing event side. So that's been really nice. But yeah, you don't necessarily know what you want to do straight out of the gate. So don't expect us at like 17, 18 to have all the answers. That's what I want to say to some of these adults that are hammering the teenagers right now.
I started Horse Radio Network when I was 48. I mean, after having worked in retail for a long time. So Jane just said here, she said, I met someone who is doing all the landscaping at major hunter jumper shows, flowers, containers, and horses. Who knew? I think that brings up a good point. I think right now, look at Mandee, Jamie, and I, we created our own jobs. I mean, we have more opportunity right now, I think, than we ever had in the past to really create your own job, to create your own space in the horse world like we never had before. Now,
which is really needed in some places too, definitely.
Yeah, but it's harder too because you're going to be broke for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you're married and, I'm just going to say this. If you're married and your spouse has some sort of income, it certainly helps, right?
Yes.
It definitely helps. But if you're on your own trying to do this, it's going to be tough for a while. When you're starting your own gig and doing your own thing, just like the person who does the landscaping. They didn't start that making tons of money. They did one show they probably did 1,000 shows that didn't pay them anything just to develop your reputation so they could finally get paid. But we do have opportunity more now than we ever had in the past, don't you think?
I think
Yes.
so, yeah.
And I get stoked talking about this kind of stuff because I was that person. Everyone was like, are you going to go to college? I moved to Kentucky, but I didn't want to spend a ton of money either. And I was like, I went down there and I started working at a harness racing farm. I knew nothing about harness racing, but I loved horses. So I did it. And then short version, I moved home. And I think it is so important. So I worked my regular job for probably 6 years before I ended up breaking free, because, when you want to hustle and you want to get it done and all you want to do is work your passion, that's awesome. But you don't want to be broke. So get a plan, get your business plan, start working the plan. And the other thing that I would mention that is invaluable, if you think you're maybe I want to do the landscaping, maybe I want to do something like that, do a ride along with someone, do a day in the life of, because it's not always as glamorous as you might think it is. Look at the veterinary, what vets are going through. And there's just so many sides of every profession. Is that really what you want for the rest of your life? Because sometimes it's not all the pretty things, and sometimes it is awesome and amazing. But, look for a mentor and really start working with someone that can tell you the real deal. These are the great parts of what I do, but these are the things that are sometimes a challenge.
Allie, anything else?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. I think every time someone asks the clinic, what made you want to become a vet, to our vets, there's well, if you're thinking about it, try shadowing one first, just to make sure. Cause it's a lot of school to go through to realize that this isn't the job for you. And we just have a crazy shortage of vets too. I don't know if vets are on back order, but
yes, yes,
it's kind of, I don't know. It might be feeling like it hits harder out here in the Western United States. Cause I'm sure in Ocala area in Kentucky, every other person is a vet. Your neighbor sells horse insurance, but out here, we have 4 stables and 1 horse insurer for the entire Western United States, and 4 vets for the whole county. And it gets a little tough to put the big kid glasses on, figure out what can I even do out here?
Well, I think the vet thing, I think too, everybody's going to be small animal vets because they don't have to be on call at midnight and running out to farms all night long. I think that's a real deterrent for large animal, don't you?
Oh yeah, we have, so our practice has, I think 6 or 7 vets, and we still have people that'll be on call for 3 days in a row because someone is on vacation or someone else is just out, and it's hard. And I don't remember where I heard that there's only 1% of vets right now going into large animal, and it's definitely felt for sure. We are the only surgical center within a state and a half, I think. And so we just have so many people that's you're the only 6 vets I can see, and I live 5 hours away. It can be, it can be tough to figure that out.
It's hard too, because people think the vets make a ton of money when they come right out of school, and it's nothing. I mean, for everything you've spent for the last 8 years, it's nothing.
Yeah, that's that was what deterred me from going to vet school.
Well,
Allie,
and another.
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
Oh, no, I was just going to say another thing to think about too is look at the statistics, like what Allie just mentioned. If you are looking to go into a profession, look at the statistics. I mentioned talk with a mentor and stuff, but those statistics of, okay, if I get out of vet school, I could probably easily get a job if I move to the West Coast, but with these 5 states. I think that's all just part of planning. And it is hard when you're 18, 19, 20, and you're I got to plan the rest of my life. But, look at all of the things that we have all just mentioned before really just making a decision and taking a dive.
I saw a stat the other day that 72% of the people, when they reach age 40, are not doing what they went to college for.
Not shocking.
I'm not.
And who knows? They might even still be paying their student loans.
It could be. And we're not saying don't go to college. That's not what we're saying here.
But there are horse jobs that you don't need that for. So look.
All right, let's head over to our final question. And before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about you guys first. So, Jamie, we'll start with you. Yellow Barn Media, what do you do?
We do, a lot of things, but basically equestrian marketing for small businesses. And so we do a lot of done-for-you content creation. I do VIP intensive days when someone is looking to get everything done in one day. We do business coaching. So it's actually evolved in the last 15 years, but really we love equestrian businesses. I love working with people that are in that space and helping them to reach their ideal client.
And she wears 10-gallon hats because she's short and wants to look taller. That's why that is right there. You look good in a 10-gallon hat.
Well, everyone picks on me and says my hats are too big, everyone. And I'm like, you know what, though? I love them and I feel good in them. And I don't care if they're in style. Like, I love them. So
I think I have almost that exact same hat we saw in the picture. So some the same way. I'm with you. And then here's Miss Stylish over here, Mandee. So Mandee, tell us about your show.
Yeah, so the Lead Line podcast started in March of this year, so it's been out for a little over 6 months. It's a podcast for equestrian entrepreneurs and business owners, and we talk about all sorts of business topics. I love diving into the story of how successful businesses started and the people behind them. So we really uncover a lot of that and dive into some business strategy, marketing tips, financial advice, all of that good stuff.
Very cool. And it's the leadlinepodcast.com or on any of your podcast players, just search for the Lead Line Podcast. Allie, you mentioned before we started that you like Mandee's show.
Yes, very much.
Cool. Allie, I did some digging on you because we couldn't talk about your business. So I found these pictures.
Oh, dear.
So apparently,
the bottom one's not me, but it's
I'm not?
I'm the arm in the picture.
Oh, it's hard to tell in that picture. So obviously, tell us about the pictures.
So my first year of school was as a percussion major, actually. I was doing music my whole life, and so I did that in high school and then into my first year of school in Colorado. And then I had my third of 5 car accidents and can't play very much anymore.
Wow.
So I transitioned over back to horse life after missing it for the year that I was in full-time school and started doing that instead.
Were you all kinds of percussion, drums and the whole thing, or?
Mostly just the keyboard instruments you can see in those pictures. That's my marimba. That was what I was mostly playing, but I had to learn drums in my first year. It was a little rough.
And the left picture there is your supermodel years? Is that?
Oh gosh, no. Oh man, no.
Well, that's cool. I love finding out what our listeners do as a sideline, as a hobby, because it's so cool to. And the band kids always seem to be having more fun than the rest of us for some reason.
I met my husband in band, so we have to.
My parents met in band, so same thing. What happened in those buses, those band buses? I always wondered about that. No, we're not talking about that.
Not allowed to say that. That's secret.
That's funny. All right, Jamie, you're up. What was your topic for tonight?
Okay, I love talking about business tools. So I just wanted to share, I'm just going to throw out 3 tools that I love. So any business, if you're an equine or otherwise, these have been instrumental for me. And it was hard to just pick 3, but I know we're on a time limit. So I wanted, and some of these you may have not heard of, and that's okay. But the others are fairly common. So one of my very first apps that I love that has literally changed my business is called Voxer. It's Voxer, and it's essentially like a walkie-talkie app. And so you can leave messages. It's basically just voice messages back and forth, but I use it with my clients and it has made everything so streamlined. It's a free app. I use like the $5 version because, I use it all the time. And so it's something, it seems so simple, but I started using it with my clients and it has saved so much time. It's really good for collaboration. So have any of you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I don't use it though. I have WhatsApp. How does it compare to WhatsApp?
I don't use WhatsApp. It's basically, so WhatsApp is, are you typing out messages or can you leave voice messages too for WhatsApp?
You can do both on WhatsApp.
So I don't know exactly how it compares, but here's why I like it. It can record 15 minutes without me having to hold a button, which I like. And you can also listen to someone leaving you a message on like 4 speed. So when I leave messages with tons of details, and so I use it for my family and my business, but it's really nice because people can listen to me on fast speed and get through all the stuff and get to the good stuff at the end, basically. But
I was thinking that'd be more pertinent for the relatives when they call and just drone on and on and on and on in the messages.
Well, it's been so good for collaboration because when I bring on a new client, for them and for me, we don't want to just keep getting on the phone, like for a couple little things like, hey, I need you to send me this, and of course, email works, but I'm a verbal processor and I have noticed most of my clients have the same style of communication. So we'll just bounce back and forth and we can accomplish something in 10 or 15 minutes that would have maybe taken like a half a day on email. So
that's cool.
That's been something that I love. Do you guys have anything that you use? You mentioned WhatsApp, Mandee. Do you guys have anything else that you guys love as far as communication?
That's a little, you just send short video. It's Marco Polo.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, and you just send little videos to each other. Yeah, I just have a couple of friends I do it with. I don't use it for business.
I just don't put on makeup every day, so I don't like doing videos. I'm just not going to lie.
So you use this instead of email and like texting, just that this is like your only like communication.
It's not my only, but it's essentially my primary. So once I bring someone new on, I'll send them obviously everything via email, like what I need from them. But once we start collaborating, and it helps me to get to know them better. And it's also been, I will tell you, I hate to even bring up the word, but in the last year, you know how everything's been kind of how it has been, right? Challenging for people. And it's been hard to kind of connect with people. Voxer is something that I can just click the button when I'm driving and connect with a friend, and I don't have to be distracted and actually be talking to them on the phone or holding it. We'll just leave messages back and forth. And honestly, it's been something that's been encouraging to me because I connect with people all the time on it now versus before. I'm like, I don't really want to pick up the phone and call someone. I just want to leave a quick message. So personally and professionally, that's been amazing. So if you want to check out Voxer, I highly recommend it. The other two are a little more professional. I'm going to put these two together as one because I really want to share four. So I love using Canva and Later. So you guys have y'all
explain what Canva is
I love
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never a designer. I didn't do design work. I didn't go to school for that. I don't use all of the other platforms. Canva is basically I'm just going to say what I feel it is. It's like design for dummies. They have templates. And so if you want to create social media posts and you're like, Jamie, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to design anything, they make it super easy. You can go in, you can add your brand colors, you can tell it I want it Instagram size or Facebook size or Pinterest size. So it's very, very user friendly. And as I mentioned, you can upload your fonts for your brand, your colors, your logo. And the other thing that's really cool too, obviously Canva has tons of templates, but you can also go into other places and buy sets of templates for like $20. So it really makes design, if you're just like, I don't have a lot of time, I'm not a designer, and I don't have maybe the money to hire someone right now, I just need to go in and create some graphics for social media. Canva is an absolutely wonderful platform. And Later is actually a scheduler. I know there's a whole like controversy about like, should you schedule posts or should you put them live on Facebook? However, what I found is however you schedule them, get them posted. Consistency is the best. But Later I have tested out probably 15 to 20 different schedulers, and Later has been my favorite. So it just allows you to do a lot of things. So, Mandee, do you use a scheduler at all?
I use both Canva and Later. I actually had some posts go up on Instagram today through Later. And I do that when I know, so I use the free version of Later because I have to, right now I'm like trying not to pay for every single service out there that I use because they all have premium versions.
Wait, is that how you're supposed to do it?
I'm prioritizing. Like I have a paid StreamYard account because I need the recordings, but I don't pay for my Later account yet. I just don't post enough with it yet. But I use it when I know that I'm not doing like a carousel post, because with a free version, you don't have to, or you can just do like one picture versus the carousel, which you get with the premium version of Later. So I use it when I know I just have a simple post that needs to go up that doesn't need a lot of extras added or tags or anything like that. So I used it today, and Canva is so awesome. I've got to talk on that really quick because there's a lot of people who are always asking questions, like even in my Facebook group, like where do I get good pictures for my content that I'm posting? And everyone thinks you have to go to like a stock photo website and purchase individual photos. And unless you're like a bigger brand that's looking for a very unique image, if you're just looking for simple, like if you're a startup business and you're just looking for some simple social media posts, just pay the $12.95 a month, which is what I'm paying. I think that's the current rate, but just pay that for Canva and you have the pro library with all of those better images. If you use the free version of Canva, you're going to get the same pictures that everybody uses. But if you pay for the upgrade, you're not going to see them everywhere like you would with a free version of Canva.
I'm trying to pretend like I'm not paying $12 a month for Canva just for my blog that I post on like twice a year, but it's fine.
That is one of the best things, Mandee. And I've seen, like, I have a client who uses Shutterstock, and I'll go there and then I'll go to Canva and I'm like, I'm seeing the same picture and I know how much they're paying.
It's the same images. I don't know if they're pulling from the same libraries, but it's literally the same. And you're just paying the monthly subscription versus the per image price. I feel like if photographers are watching this, they might be hating us a little bit for this conversation. But I mean, Canva works.
Well, and there are some AHP members, like you mentioned, the bigger brands, Mandee. There are some AHP members that have absolutely stunning pictures. And they have a stock photo library that you can buy from. And I'm talking like literally you go there and you look at the pictures and you're just drooling. Like they're just amazing. And you're going to pay more, but they're so worth it. And they're really, the websites are really well done. So yes, that's one of my favorite things about Canva too, is like free stock photos that are great.
That little quote that I posted the other day in the auditor room that everyone was like, oh my gosh, you draw this? Nope, that was Canva. It's fine.
Yay.
Let's get a plug in here before you go on. Let's get a plug in for AHP. It is the 50th anniversary for AHP now, and AHP, we've been talking about it all night because we're partners with them now on this show. And it is a professional membership association that promotes excellence in equine media and encourages relationships and communication within the horse industry through education, networking, and more. You can go to AmericanHorsePubs.org. The three of us highly recommend AHP. If you're a professional photographer, if you're a podcaster, if you're a journalist of any kind, a freelancer, if you're in social media, whatever you are that's kind of related around the media and the horse world, then you need to be a member of AHP. And the conferences are worth it. We might have a good time.
You might if you go out with Glenn and I. And Jamie too, if you come next time.
Yeah.
Yes, Lexington. It's going to be in Lexington next year. I'm pumped.
We had we were in Dallas, and we might have gone out. We had to go for steak. We were in Dallas. We had the best dinner I think I've had in years in Dallas. It was wonderful.
So Jimmy, they're crashing at your house, right? That's how it's.
Yes, we're all coming to your place.
Well, I wish I was in Lexington, but I am driving.
Okay, all right. So AHP, AmericanHorsePubs.org is where you find that. All right, Allie, do you have any that you recommend? Apps
Sorry, can you say that again?
Apps that you use or following up with Jamie's?
Canva is huge, definitely. That's like my main one. I don't know. Besides just like the Barn Manager app was a huge help for me last year. That's like kind of the main ones, actually.
Okay. Mandee, do you have one you recommend?
I'm thinking there's definitely a lot that I use, and I don't have my list in front of me. Canva, Later's a big one. What are some other ones that I'm using on a regular basis? I upgrade a lot of things like my Google email. So for someone who's like doing a lot of business email, I do really like the G Suite upgrade with Gmail. That gives me a lot of options that I wouldn't have with the free version. So that's been well worth paying for as well.
The
I'm going to throw one out.
Business Creator one is also good.
Yes. I'm going to throw one out here, too, that everybody forgets about or nobody thinks about anymore if you're coming up, and that is a CRM. That's a client management program where you just keep track of who's who, their names, addresses, phone numbers, how you've it has been used in the past for sales. The problem with client CRMs is they're very complicated. You can get CRMs that it will take you 10 years to figure it out, and you're not going to be selling anything but trying to figure out your CRM where it's supposed to be tracking everybody you're trying to sell. So I found one that works for me because it's super simple, and it's called lessannoyingcrm.com. And it is less annoying, and it's just the basics of what you need, where you can track notes and you can put in their name and address and all their contact stuff. But the cool part is it does integrate with Gmail, so I can have all the emails that I email out to my contacts go automatically over to the CRM and be put on their account. So it kind of automates all of that. I do all my tasks in there now, and it's cheap. It's not very expensive as a CRM program goes. So if you're in small business, you need to start with a CRM program. It used to be called a Rolodex for all of us old people. And I was really bad at putting little cards in the Rolodex, so they were all over the place. But now they're in my CRM. So less annoying CRM is one I do recommend.
Well, that's awesome, because I've used one. It's probably not a full CRM, but ClickUp has been really instrumental with teams and task building and all of that. The other one that I did want to mention really quick, it's called Jarvis, Jarvis. And for those, I hear this all the time when I get clients on the phone or potential clients. They're like, I just don't write well. They're like, I don't, how do I create long form content or a blog? I don't write well. Jarvis is your new best friend. I think it's like $30 a month. I don't know which plan I have. They have like advanced plans that I'll probably bump myself up to, but here's the beauty. You literally can write something out the way you would write it, just your regular writing skill set. And then you copy and paste it into Jarvis, and Jarvis will give you like 3 to 5 sets of captions, if you will, that are way better than how you just wrote it. So I tend to write well. That's a skill of mine, but there are some things I'm not great at. But Jarvis, I'll even take what I write and put it in there, and I'm like, whoa, that sounds way better. So it's definitely, I don't think they have a free version, but it is one of those things. It's really, really powerful. And it's really kind of fun to see. Yeah, I actually just heard of it about 6 months ago, and I started playing around with it. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be dangerous, because I want to like level up to like their, I don't know, they have one that's probably like 150 or 200 a month. And I was like, ooh, it's so worth it. But I don't want to pay the money either, but it's really cool.
Sounds magical.
I suck at writing, so this sounds like I wrote that one down. It's just like,
yeah, I'm going to look that one up too. I've never heard of them, but I do a lot of like blogging too. And sometimes I just sit here like, I know there's a better way to say this, but I'm coming up blank.
That's kind of cool.
And I think also Grammarly, it's not the same thing, obviously, but Grammarly, you can set it up if you get like their pro version. I think it's like $60 a year. Don't quote me, but somewhere around that. It's not too much. But I think Grammarly has a setting now where you can, if there's like a phrase that you're maybe saying the same thing over and over, like in a blog, it'll say, instead, maybe say it this way. So that's also helpful too. And the other thing with Jarvis is you can tell it what you're doing. You can say, I'm writing a blog, or I'm writing a caption, or I'm writing a tweet, and you can tell it like, I want to be joyful or playful or serious. So you can pick the tone. It's like total insanity, like nerd out, right? Like I nerd out with that stuff. I'm like, woo, so cool.
I always thought, I tried Grammarly, and I always felt like it was judging me and really scolding me like a teacher would in like second grade. It's very judgy.
Like actually, you've used that word like 6 times in a row, so you're gonna have to stop.
I just thought it was judgy. I will try Jarvis though.
Yes, that's awesome.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, let's go. Let's wrap up this episode of the Roundtable real quick. Jamie, where can they find you?
yellowbarnmedia.com. And all my social channels are Yellow Barn Media, with the exception of Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Equestrian Professional.
And are you taking new clients?
Yes, sir, I am.
And what kind of clients do you want?
Well, I will be honest. I obviously love the horse industry. And within the horse industry, there's a bunch of niches. And so for me, I have found that I have done really, really well the last couple of years with retail. And it's not to say that I haven't worked with other like service providers or things of that nature, but retail has been really good. I will be launching this month. I have a VIP days. So if someone says, I want to get like a marketing automation set up, or I need to get 6 months of emails, something along those lines. If you have a task that's been hanging out there that you have not been able to get done and you need someone to help you get it done, I'll be launching those here this month. So
very good. Sounds good. Mandee?
Yeah, my website is theleadlinepodcast.com. And we also have a really engaging Facebook group for horse business owners, and that's the Leadline community. Leadline is one word if you're searching for it on Facebook. And we do a lot of networking, beyond the education part. I also host virtual networking events once a month. We do meetups, and I will also be hosting our very first live networking event at Equine Affair next month. So I'm super excited about that one.
Yay. Good. And Allie, find you on Facebook? Is that the easiest way?
Yeah, I Instagram and Facebook. It's actually autoimmune equestrian on both of those. That's the blog I aforementioned that I post on twice a year. But yeah.
Great. And so the blog is autoimmune equestrian?
Yeah.
Is that health related?
Yes, I have autoimmune disease. And that's kind of just talking about that and managing that while having a horse life somehow.
Well, this has been an interesting year for you then with an autoimmune disease.
Oh, yes. I am now triple vaccinated, everybody.
I can imagine. Having chronic Lyme is bad enough, and I can't imagine a full-blown autoimmune disease. That's got to suck. Well, you look great.
Well, thanks.
And thank you for listening. Let's give a plug for auditors, too. Auditors are super fans at the Horse Radio Network. If you want to be in one of the most engaging, positive Facebook groups in the whole of Facebook, the Auditor Room is definitely that. Would you agree with that, Allie?
Definitely. It's one of the more positive and non-troll filled groups that I am part of.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any in there. And Mandee, you're in that group too, actually. So
I am. Yep, it's a good group.
It is a community. I mean, they talk about everything in there, from divorces to horses. I mean, that's how I say it when I'm doing speeches. I say, yep, they talk about everything from divorces to horses. But that's really what makes it a community, and we're very fortunate to have the community we do at the Horse Radio Network. And also at American Horse Publications. Thanks you to Chris and everybody over there, AmericanHorsePubs.org. Also, thank you to our title sponsor, Purina. We appreciate them. They've been with us, and we've been with them for years and years and years. So thank you, Purina. Everybody say goodbye.
Thanks.
Have a great night, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Glenn.
Bye.